Welcome to Lydia's Books. I'm Lydia, and today I want to talk about some of the books I'm going to read for Christmas. But first, a little wrap up. I did Nonfiction November, and I read quite a few nonfiction books, including In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, and I put this off for way too long. I will say it's now one of my favorite true crime books, and I can see how this was the fount for all the true crime books that followed. It has that kind of formula that we're all very used to, where you are introduced to the crime in a lot of its glory, a lot of its gory glory. And then you go back in time to either the victims or the perpetrator's beginnings, and you follow each character, so to speak. And it's a really good, effective way of storytelling when you have a journalistic kind of endeavor to follow, where you're sticking to the facts. As far as I understand, this is very facts-based. He spent a lot of time there. He insinuated himself into the community, very much so. And I think that began, of course, this huge genre of true crime. So true crime is not very Christmassy. I read a lot of really cool stuff in November. Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, the Nazi War on Cancer, some true crime in Cold Blood, some Dexter philosophy, which I didn't get all the way through. So it was really a pile of possibilities. So now we have another pile of possibilities, because there are some books that we'll talk about in a minute that I may or may not get to, but there are books for Christmas that I'm reading right now. The very first one has my jingle jangly bookmark in it, so I'm going to just slip it out. You Can't Take It With You by Marcus Hawke, and I had the pleasure of meeting Marcus in the fall at DreadCon, and this book sold out. I went to snag a copy and it was gone, so I just recently purchased this, and I've already started reading it, and I'm enjoying it quite a lot. My joke previously about Mr. Burns, how the cover and the description a little bit reminded me of Mr. Burns, was not lost, because there's a few Mr. Burns or Simpsons type references in the beginning. Sometimes when you're of a certain age, you use Simpsons references like no tomorrow, and you don't realize that you're doing it. What would you do for more time? Christmas Eve 1984, Montgomery Nolan's about to die. Even at 90 years old, it's never enough, but he has a way out. A way to live beyond death. No longer hunted by time, he will become the hunter. This night will be anything but silent. So, a perfect reading for Christmas. And so far, the main character has a birthday sort of near mine. My birthday's in a week, so my video making will be a little intermittent, and I've chosen some shorter books to kind of like get along with the season. We don't have any really big holiday plans aside from reading, but it'll be fun to get through more than one or two books, won't it? So yeah, first on the docket will be You Can't Take It With You by Marcus Hawke. And get a load of that cover art. I know I've talked about it before, but yeah. Now, maybe not Christmassy, it's Halloweeny from what I understand, but it is a ghost story for Christmas, because this is a ghost story. Slade House by David Mitchell, and I love this cover so much. Just all these ghostly little creatures and trees, and it's not a dark woodcut like I normally like. It's all very white and snowy looking. So I really thought this was like a Christmassy ghost story. We'll find out. I don't know. Maybe there's some winter in it somewhere, but it does look so awfully ghosty. And I know that it deals with multiple timelines, and I'm looking forward to that. I like multiple timeline books because it's a bit of a puzzle for me, maybe. So yeah, I'm very excited to get to this. If you recall, I picked this up, in the summer, and wanted to read it right away. I've stopped because the far end of the garden, the wall with the small black door, it's gone all faint and dim. Not because of evening, it can't be 4 o'clock yet, not because it's misty either. I look up, the sky is still bluish, like it was before. It's the garden itself. The garden's fading away. Yeah, there was like mysterious disappearances at Slade House at different decades throughout time, and at one point we encounter a bit of a detective who's trying to figure out and get to the bottom of this, and I have a feeling they're going to have some paranormal experiences of their own. I've not read anything by David Mitchell, so if you have, let me know. I know people chimed in when I picked up this book from the library book sale, but yeah, if you weren't there when I picked it up and you have read David Mitchell's stuff, let me know. You may recognize this from my last video where I talked about what an amazing cover this was. The author, Chris Sorenson, has sent it along, so thank you so much. I'm very excited to read this. Now, it may be in January, but I want to read it now because it fits so well. And this cover I love so much. This is the thing about all the times I talk about covers and how much I love them. I'm looking at a picture, a static digital image. When you hold the book in your hand, it's so much more different. I love this cover even more so because there's some red blood on the A. I mean, little things like that just really pull a picture together, and you can see so much more detail in real life. So yeah, it's those little details that you see when you hold it in your hand. So thank you, Chris, for sending this along. I'm very excited to get to The Haunting of Sorrow's Leap. Before I get to the rest of the pile here, I did stop by the Small Press Book Fair here in Ottawa. It's the Ottawa Small Press Book Fair, SPANO, Small Press something network, Ottawa. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I used to be a bookseller at this often when I had my own small press books there to sell, and I just haven't had anything new lately, so I haven't had a table in quite some time. And of course, over the pandemic it was not happening, but it's back. And was it ever good? There was a lot of vendors there, a lot more zines, a lot more artisans, and I had a lot of fun picking up Lanterns for Grave Robbers and 7 Times I Die, little tiny chapbooks from a local artist. And local author Stephanie Ann was there, so I picked up The Tunnel because I really like Skull Daddy. That was something I read before Halloween last year, but yeah, The Tunnel looks brooding and ominous. I'm gonna hold on to that one for maybe January or February, so we'll get back to some Christmas reads here. Now, there was a Christmas read on my shelf that has flown under my radar until now, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And I know that it does not end the way that most Slack says it does, to put another Simpsons reference in this episode. But yes, they were no longer little girls, they were little women. I don't know why I've not read it. It's a lot shorter than I thought it was, and the text is quite large. That's part of what made me want to pick it up, and it does start out at Christmas Eve. So yeah, I think that this will be a really nice addition to leading into some more Victorian things that I want to read. And whether this pile of possibilities, as they say, or a stack TBR, this pile of books I want to read over Christmas season, whether it turns into the Victorian January reading I want to do, that's fine, because these are all kind of Victorian picks here on out. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. It's a bit more of a romance and stuff like that. It's not a ghost story for Christmas, but I've got some of those on the docket. Like literal ghost stories for Christmas. Chris had bought these for me not long ago. The Dead and the Countess by Gertrude Atherton. A ghost story for Christmas, it says, and it is put out by Seth, this artist who has done the art, and the design Biblioasis is who put these out, and the other one is An Eddy on the Floor by Bernard Capes. Again, a ghost story for Christmas is the subtitle under here. So they're very short little things, little stocking stuffer books. So I'm very excited to get to those. There's some little short stories I do like to read around Christmas, like many people. A Christmas Carol is one of them. I believe it is a 1921 version of A Christmas Carol and the Chimes. I've never read the Chimes, so I might skip Christmas Carol and read the Chimes, depending. We'll see how the Chimes starts out, and if it's not as compelling as A Christmas Carol, I'll just go back to the tried and true Christmas ghost story that we all know and love by Charles Dickens. Now, this particular book is kind of greenish. I did get it at a library book sale, so I'm pretty sure it does not have arsenic, but I will leave a link below. If you have old green books like this, old Victorian green books, they may have arsenic in them, so I'll leave a link down below to the bookmark that you can order with the different shades of green that you can see if maybe there's a chance that you're holding poison in your hand. And when I say I may not get to a book until later on, this one will be more of a pick for the Victorian reading I want to do in January. This is The Old Curiosities Shop by Charles Dickens, something I've never read. And this is a 1928 version of this. It's not that old really, but it is so beautifully bound and just a little bit of flexible leather. This gorgeous case. I got this also at a library book sale. This would be one of the very few books that I've ever seen have a review from Queen Victoria herself. I suppose she'd read it in the 1840s and said that it was quite good. And so that makes it a perfect Victorian read. I'm going to put it at the end of all my Christmas reading, and so far that's quite a good little stack, I think. We have some ghost stories for Christmas, of course, A Christmas Carol and The Chimes. Those are two of, I think, four Christmas ghost stories that Charles Dickens wrote. The other two I've not read, and they look very interesting too. Little Women, which takes place at Christmas, and You Can't Take It With You by Marcus Hawke, which is the definitive Christmas reading that I will be doing for sure. Some of these will be saved for later. In Cold Blood, of course, I've already read. And then we'll get to The Old Curiosity Shop. So that's quite a bit of Dickens, quite a bit of Victorian reading. And I'm going to stack all of the more modern reading ahead. So I'll be reading Slade House and, of course, You Can't Take It With You to start out. Are any of these on your Christmas reading list? Do you always read a ghost story for Christmas like many people do? Or is this a new tradition for you? Let me know in the comments below if there's something that you think I ought to be reading this Christmas. Maybe I'll do it later on in the year or 2026. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and have an ooky, spooky day.